All right, welcome to part 2 of the buying process seen from a lender's point of view. Again, this is a great video for newer agents and for people that are considering buying a home now. So we were just talking about pre-approvals and making an offer on a home. And now, let's say your offer's been accepted. Yay! Now you are under contract. Okay, what happens next? Well, we're going to move into processing. So we are going to go ahead and order the appraisal so that the appraiser can go look at your property, and the appraiser can determine if the property is essentially worth the amount of money you're paying for it or more. Okay, that's something that's required. And then we are going to collect some more documentation because we'll start to see even more details. And so we'll be like, okay, we need this bank statement and that thing and in this way. And so a little bit more homework is what it amounts to. But hopefully a smooth process and a quick process, actually it should be. So I'm trying to look here what we're missing here. Oh, if you are salaried, that's usually a pretty easy thing to do. So your past 2 years of W-2s, and then your pay stubs. But if you are self-employed, that's usually a little bit more complex. I start doing more tax returns and looking at your business, but certainly not anything we can't get through here. We already talked about credit reports. So as this is happening, also the title insurance will be ordered and an escrow account will be set up. Escrow is an account that is between the two parties. Okay, so escrow is where monies are put in during closing by you that cover things like hazard insurance, so homeowners insurance, and also taxes. There are certain times you can avoid using escrow if you prefer to pay those items directly to the companies, but it is is normal to just have an escrow account. So anything that doesn't belong really to the buyer or the seller during the transaction will be put into escrow as well. It's kind of a safe in between that's looked over by a different company entirely. It's not your lender. It's not your bank. So go through all of this process. Let's see. Don't want to miss anything else. I actually want to take a second and kind of go off on a little tangent, and that is about points. Have you heard about buying points, buying down your interest rate? It is or has been used a lot lately. And the idea is this, is that you can pay 1% of the loan amount. So let's say that you are getting a loan for $315,000, and so 1% of that is going to be $3,150. All right. So that's the cost of 1 point. So for instance, let's say at par, meaning no points are bought, just this would be the interest rate you're getting today, would be, let's call it 5.75, which sounds really beautiful today because that is not the rate today. Anyway, 5.75. Cool. You decide you would like to buy down that rate. Why would you do that? Well, when you buy down the rate, what that translates into is less of a monthly payment. So it makes your monthly payment a little bit smaller. All right. So let's say you want to buy 1 point down. I'm trying to do the math in my head here. And it's going to depend if it makes sense for a break-even point. So when does buying points make sense? Typically, it's when you were going to stay in a home at least 6 years. I certainly would calculate it for every scenario, but that's kind of a rule of thumb. If you're not going to stay there 6 years, it probably doesn't make sense to lessen your monthly payment by a wee bit and have to pay that bulk at the first part to buy down the loan. So we should probably delve into that even more, but that is kind of the beginnings of what a point is here. I'm trying to see if there's any other things I don't want to miss here. Yeah, it's mainly about the time. All right, we're looking good. So now processing is done. Let's go back to processing, and all put into one binder, if you will, and digitally now, and sent to underwriting. The underwriter is going to go through this thing with a fine tooth comb and determine whether the package together is deemed an acceptable loan. So that's kind of your final approval status. And sometimes, lots of times, they come back and have a few more questions, a few more documents, but essentially that's it. After that, we move into closing. So in closing, the file's transferred to the closing and funding department, and that's usually an easy breezy thing where it's coordinated with title and with escrow to complete the loan, and they would get you information for your signing. So that's when you actually sign your papers. It's probably a good spot just to let you know that throughout the process, you will continue to get more updated notes on what your rate would look like, what your different closing costs, exact interest you would pay at closing. All of these things should be very clear. If you feel lost, someone's not doing their job, me. Yeah. Because you should be able to clearly understand everything that's being paid for, everything that you're signing, without feeling real confused. So always ask the questions. Don't feel like it's a dumb question. It's never a dumb question, because we don't do this most days, right? I do, but this is not something people do on a daily basis. And so each and every one of your questions is completely valid. So I'm going to leave it at that for now, but please let me know your questions. I would love to dive much more deeply into all of these aspects, but just to get you started, that's a quick little sum up. All right, have a great day, and thanks for joining.